Happy Father's Day. Just a few words from some famous theologians. Jerry Lewis. When I was a kid, I said to my father one afternoon, "Daddy, will you take me to the zoo?" He answered, "If the zoo wants you, let them come and get you." And then this other one from Red Buttons. Never raise your hands to your kids. It leaves your groin unprotected. All right. I want to tell you a little story. It was a few weeks ago when we took the water that we had blessed when the kids did their service here, and we took it to the Cape Fear River, to the Avents Ferry crossing there, and poured it in over the bridge into the river. And when the kids had left, I got in my car and I drove just a couple of miles away to where my father had worked for the predominant portion of his adult life. My father had been part of that generation that was in the Great Depression, and so he experienced a degree of lack as a kid, and but went off in World War II and flew airplane, and then came back, went to school at NC State, graduated, and went to work and started a family and all that. Did the, as they say, the whole catastrophe. And so after a reversal or two in his work career, he takes this job and becomes a part owner of a brick plant in down, I don't know where, in Chatham County, I guess you would call it, but it just was a small operation. It started out making bricks the old-fashioned way. So they had what's called a beehive kiln, which was shaped like a dome, pretty much. They would make bricks, raw green bricks, and then they would carry them in on little carts and stack them up by hand up to about the height of the edge of the balcony. And then they would close off the doors and start fires all the way around it, and they would shovel fires in of coal in there day and night for about a week until they'd cook the brick, and then they would open the doors and let it cool for some number of days until people could go in there, and then they'd take the bricks down and put them on little carts, and then they put them in stacks, and the stacks would then go be trucked off to construction sites. Very labor-intensive job. So so that was when he got there, but by the time he left there, they had several acres under roof, and he had designed this factory. The factory had automated pretty much everything by the time he quit. They would take dirt and stone and they'd grind it into a powder, and they would shovel it off into a building, and then from that building they would retrieve it and form it into clay by mixing it with water with some huge motors turning paddle wheels, and then it would be extruded through a rectangular shaped opening which would come out as one continuous block. It would then be chopped by these wires that would come swinging over it, and then it would continue down a conveyor belt, be picked up by a machine which had pneumatic activated fingers that would close on them, and they'd put them over here and they'd drop them down, and they would come back and pick up the next one like that and stack it, and it would turn, the machine would turn in all different directions, and then it would go on these down to the dryer. It'd be in the dryer for a week, and then it would go over into automatically into the hot 1800 degree tunnel kiln, and it would move down the kiln for several days, and when it came out it would be cooked. It would sit for a day or so, then new machines would pick them up, put them into blocks and strap it up, and those would be shipped off. So it changed quite a bit in the time he was the engineer and the manager of this factory, and he had about 90 employees there, and it was a thriving operation when I last saw it. I worked there 4 summers when I was at high school and the first couple of years of college. First 2 years I shoveled dust that fell out of this machine that filtered the stuff to make it sure it was fine enough. I shoveled it back in to go again, and that was my job for 2 summers. But then I got a really fancy job high-paying job, which was before they had all the automation. I took the brick from here and I put them over here. 8 hours a day, that's all you did. And you had to make there were 11 that would go in this box, and then you put a piece of paper down and you do 11 more, and so on like that. 11, there's several ways to get to 11. I know that 5 and 6, 7 and 4, 3 and 8, it's like it depends on just, oh my God. Anyway, so it was little wonder that when I got a chance, I went off to be a guide on the Grand Canyon, right? There was a little bit of a change there. Well, anyway, I went after going to doing the water ceremony. I went on this little country road, about 2 miles, went down the driveway of this place, which is about a quarter of a mile, and I saw the whole expanse of it laying out before me as I got there. And as I drove by, I saw one truck there, but I didn't see anything else happening. I drove up beside this truck parked, which was right by where my father had his little office, and I went and I tried to peer in the windows. There was nobody there. Oddly enough, there were no birds there. I didn't see a cat. There used to be lots of cats, I guess because we used to throw partial at eaten lunches, and the rats would be there, so the cats would be there. I don't know why there were so many cats. There were always cats there. It turned out they were actually descendants of my cats. When I was a little kid, my father said we took them there just to see if we could get rid of some mice, and they were just getting rid of them. It's what the cats they were getting rid of. We just thought they never came back. Oh well, that's another story, but anyway, I'm walking down around this place, and like I said, there used to be 90 people working there. It's monstrous, big, expansive place. Nothing is moving. Nothing is moving at all. There's no birds, no machinery. There's not a sound except for maybe the wind a little bit. I walk where I used to move the brick from here to here, and that they had that remnant machine there, so I got up and pushed it, and nothing happened. But it was kind of like old time. But then I started walking around, and where the machinery made the green brick, and where they found scraped up the powdery dirt to make the mud, and there was still a pile of it there, waiting to go in. I walked around, there was no sound in the kiln that used to roar the whole time, and the whole place was silent. I went everywhere I used to work. Even the places I didn't like, I would go back and see what I felt like to be there. But what really struck me was this was 30 years of my father's life. 30 intense years. He worked 6 days a week, took 2 weeks off. He took it home with him, too. Some jobs you don't have to take home with you, but this one he took home with him. When things went really bad, he had a heart attack. It was his life's work. And many of the days of my youth, I can remember talking with my friends. He wasn't there a lot because he was working a lot, right? There's many days of my youth he was not there a lot. But can remember kind of bragging on that. I remember one time the boys in my neighborhood were hanging around, and I said, yeah, they were going, my father did this and he does that. And I said, well, my father's not around a lot. He works a lot. And they go, oh, yeah, well, my father works a lot too. But I knew they didn't hold a candle to what my father did. He did work a lot. And he really, and I think in many ways it irritated my mother quite a bit. She wanted him around. But he wanted something that he needed too, which was to provide for his family, to be the man. Do you know what I mean? He needed to be the man. You could see it if you think more, if I thought deeply enough about it, I could see that what he was, it wasn't that he loved the brick plant. He wanted to be successful. Short version, I inherited that gene. I know it. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, particularly, it does matter to me, but it doesn't seem, I still want the same thing. I want to be successful. right? I want to be successful. For what all that means, to have stuff, to be known, to be satisfied with yourself, all those things. And in so doing, I think in many ways, many of us men have that disposition that, we really do want to be successful. And we will do what it takes to get there. Or we at least think we should do it. We don't always do it, but we'll think we should do it. And we will try to be successful. Now, one of the things that comes with that is setting up your priorities about where you're going to spend your time. And as many of you know, many times fathers make the choice to be successful and less to be present. Doesn't mean they love you less. It does mean that they chose that. And I think one of the things that happens to us is people growing up, and this sticks with us for much of our lives, if not their whole life, is that we want that contact with our parents. And we don't really know what it takes to get this world to work. So we have a sense of missing that I wish they could have been there more for me in some way. Now, I don't remember ever having that particularly with my father. Kind of nice, isn't it? I'm not sure how he covered that or why I don't have that sense, but I know a lot of people do. That they wish that their fathers had been able to be there on the day when they went to school, or like Claire was saying, that was such a beautiful story. Or at the sports events, or at your spelling bee, or your piano recital, and they didn't make it. And there's the rub. Life is complex. I think being a human being is extremely complex. We have vectors that go in opposite directions often. We have the vector of being present for all the family events, and we have the vector of being successful and not being there, and making that choice. And sometimes we can pull it off where we get it together, where we do both of it. Those are the parents that, they write beautiful stories about. The ones that Hallmark has written all those cards for, those parents. I know a parent like that. In my first church in Oregon, there was a man. He was a good man and smart. And he had started a little company. And in that, he had made a pretty good amount of living. He had a wonderful house and all the things you needed. But he also had 3 children. One of them had a brain tumor at age 8, but one of them had a disability that was quite pronounced. He had cerebral palsy, he had curvature of the spine, and he had mental disabilities that never allowed him to learn to speak, walk, or take care of himself physically. And we had a church of about 100 people, and we would, at the end of the church service, when we sing the peace song, we would hold hands, and everybody all the adults would be in this one room. And oddly enough, we had only one room for all the kids as well. So it was like a one-room schoolhouse, and all the ages would be there. And so we didn't really do like the orderly procession we have here, where they walk in, and we just opened the doors, and they burst from one room into the next room, and they ran and they found their parents, and it was a little joyous event. This man had to go get his son, and he would bring him into the service as well. And so he'd hold this boy by his arm so it looked like he was standing. And we would sing the peace song, and then everybody would mill around and hug and kiss and all the things they do. And he would stand there with his son. And I remember I would always be in a position where I could see this man holding his son. Tender with him, like a mother. It was was one of those things where he probably would have wanted this son to play baseball with him. But he'd never do that. But he didn't abandon him, he just stayed with him. I remember we went camping once, and it's the fun of the day. We started walking this creek, and we just were in the creek walking, you know. I don't know, it's out west, we do weird things. And so we're walking, and he's got his son, and he's walking, and the kid is laughing, and I'm freezing. I don't know how the kid's pulling it off. He's about this big around, but he's laughing. And it's the kind of joy that a father could take in that moment, you know, of making sure that the boy's getting what he needs and having fun. I don't think we know how to do parenting. We are drawn into knowing how to doing parenting by the conditions in which we find us and the children. And we don't know how to play the game. We just learn it. And some of our parents learned it pretty quick and fast. And some of them didn't ever learn it. They had their own disability. But they did the best they could. Then this is the thing that we as adults have to come to, is that no matter what our parents gave us or didn't give us, they were throwing themselves at life in the same way we are. We are just going for it. We don't know how to play this game. We have no idea when we walk on the planet, you know, what this whole thing's going to be about. And you get thrown stuff that you're not expecting, you know. If we take this man, he didn't expect the first time he had a child that the child would have a brain tumor. He didn't expect the second time he had a child that'd have a severe disability. That's not what he expected. He expected what he got the third time, a kid who could do everything, right? Brilliant, athletic, charming. That's what parents are expecting. Just think how disappointed they've been. Look around, you know, we turn out as we do. And the funny thing about it, they love us, just like we are. Maybe they want to change us. Maybe they want it to be different. Maybe they want you to be more or less something or another. My father always wanted to be a faster runner. Well, that's too bad, bud. But somewhere along the line, he got over it. And somewhere, I think what our job on Father's Day is really just to remember that these are human beings that did, with their own disabilities, the most that they could do with their life, and that was it. Sometimes it was great, sometimes it seemed inadequate. But I really have this feeling that we have no idea, from the generalized personal ego station, we have no idea what this life is about. We really don't know what anyone else's life is about either. I mean, you can kind of have a game plan. You can almost feel like you're being tugged this way. But the whole of what's going on here, holy cow. It seems like every day I sit and I look and I go, what is this? What is this? What is existence? I'm paid to think like that, I know, but you know, it's like, it's remarkable, isn't it, that we're here? But not just that even that we're here, you know that I was reading this, and something physics, I didn't really understand it, but if it was different by 1 in 1,000, there would be nothing visible, period. That's the universe. That's how this much of a lottery winner this universe is. 1 in 1,000 on one thing, and we wouldn't exist. 2 in 1,000 on another thing, and we wouldn't exist. It's just like you should just, what is this? Do you know what I mean? What's happening? How did this happen? If you think from the top down, how the hell are we here? Then you go, well, I don't know why my parent wasn't perfect. You go, of course that's a ridiculous statement. We're barely here at all. You don't, I mean, come on. And so we have one thing we should do with that. If we can, granted, we're doing the best we can. I know not all of us can do it. I can't even do it myself. Just be grateful. Just stand up and be grateful. Be grateful for what's happening. Be grateful because the alternative is just pure bewilderment. We don't know why it's here or why it's like, so let's just be grateful that it is this way at all, you know? Stand here and go, oh my God, they did the best they could for us. My father. Many of our fathers were great. Some of our fathers were not so good. Some of our fathers we don't even know. There's nothing universal I could say about fathers except half your DNA came from them. That's about it. The rest, I don't know. You could not say a universal thing about fathers without it being a lie. Because we're all different and unique. We're 1 in a million or quadrillion or whatever it is. The odds of each of us having the genetic makeup we have is very, very rare. 20,000 eggs, who knows how many alternatives in sperm. I mean, just what are your chances that you're unique, you're special, and your parents also unique and special, gifted and ungifted, brilliant and stupid, loving and frustrated, right? They did what they could do, and we should be grateful. So I was thinking about my father's brick plant, and it reminded me of a cicada, you know, when it shed its shell and the life has gone out of it and there's just the shell there. And I have to kind of imagine that the real legacy of those 30 years is not that building, but me and my brothers and sisters. That's the real legacy. And so those of us who are out there building our empire or trying to make a success in the world, we should be really careful to remember that the lasting legacy is not so much what you've done in this world, but your children, if you're lucky. They will go on. And for people like me who don't have any children, I got nothing. Those of us without children, it is the same thing. Because in essence, we're all children of each other. Your friends, I have friends who have taught me in deeper ways than any parent could do. I mean, they've taught me deeply by their example, by being who they are. And the people you touch in your life, they're your children. And the people who have touched you are like your parents. And so we're really all in this, whatever this is, together. And as we open our hearts, and as we move toward gratitude, I think we move into the place in which this can be grace-filled, amazing, unfolding in ways we never expected. That's the option of this life. And the other option is to hold prescriptive ideas about how other people should be and why it didn't work out the way you wanted it and how you're disappointed. This egg is breaking open, and it's going to be something. And we don't know exactly what it is right now, but we just do our best. We show up, we're grateful, and we keep our hearts open. And that's a full-time job. Even if you're not trying to be successful. But if you are, make that part of the mix. Make that part of it. Let us pray. So just to warm you up for this prayer, let me read you something from another theological treatise called Bonfire of the Vanities by Thomas Wolfe. Sherman, who's the main character in this book, made the terrible discovery that men make about their fathers sooner or later, that the man before him was not an aging father, but a boy much like himself, a boy who grew up and had a child of his own, and as best he could, out of a sense of duty and perhaps love, adopted a role called being a father, so that his child would have something mythical and infinitely important, a protector who would keep a lid on all the chaotic and catastrophic possibilities of life. Let's take a moment to be with our fathers. Breathe in, but breathe into your heart this time so that it might feel the breath and the power of the prana coming into your heart, so that you might be strong in this loving. And now that person you call father or was your father figure, send him love. Send him love. Perhaps it's easier to send him love as a boy, but send him love however you picture him. He was a person who had desires and dreams and limitations and gifts. Perfectly imperfect. When you see your father's face, it may change with you as you send him love. As you see his face change or his heart open to your giving. Let this rewrite the story. Let this mystery of life include that as well. And with our blessing, let us say amen.